Welcome to Chronic Conversations, the podcast that brings a voice to the stories behind chronic symptoms. I'm your host, Katherine Rose, certified integrative health practitioner, founder of ThriveWell, and soon to be published author. After years of battling unexplained symptoms and finally getting a diagnosis of Hashimoto's, I turned my pain into purpose. Now I help women just like you feel seen, heard, and validated, while uncovering the root causes of symptoms and helping to create lasting wellness. Each week, I'll share insights from my own journey, some proven strategies that I use with clients, and conversations with fellow experts and warriors. You're not alone, and you can thrive. Now let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back to Chronic Conversations. I am so excited about today's episode. Today, I am joined by Diana May from Diana May Yoga, who is a somatic experiencing practitioner. She is a trauma-informed movement specialist and also nervous system educator who helps people like us with chronic illness, chronic pain, helps people like us reconnect with their bodies in the present moment and helps them feel grounded in their experience. She works directly with the nervous system and physiology of the body to help release that stored stress, restore a sense of safety to the body, and support healing in ways that are unique to each individual that she works with. So for those of you living with chronic illness or autoimmune symptoms, understanding how your body holds and responds to stress can be really, really powerful piece of your healing journey. And Diana May brings a gentle, accessible approach that meets you right where you are, which I absolutely love. So let's get into it. Well, I am so excited to have you on. The kind of work that you do, I know a little bit about. I haven't ever incorporated it into any of my practices that I do. I don't know enough about it, but it's fascinating to me. And I have so many questions. I hope that we get to all of them. And I just want to thank you for your time and taking the time to share your knowledge and your experience and all those things with us. I know that the chronic illness community can really benefit from your knowledge and experience and your work and all of those things. So I'm very appreciative of you sharing your time.
Yeah, the work that I do that I kind of share a lot on Instagram, I share because when I learned about it formally, I was like, why isn't this more mainstream? Like, it's so impactful, it's so easy, it's so accessible, it makes such a big difference. And I've been in the movement world a very long time, and I've worked with a lot of people who have all sorts of pain and injuries and conditions, and I had just never heard about how specifically to work with the brain and the brainstem. I'm also a somatic practitioner, so I'm heavily trained in the nervous system and how to work with the nervous system. And so when I found this very niche world, I was like, this needs to be everywhere. It makes such a big difference. So I'm grateful that you invited me on.
Oh, good. Yay. I'm curious how you got into it. Tell us a little bit, about yourself. And did you have personal experiences that brought you into this realm? I don't know what you want to call it, but what you're doing now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I have been a movement teacher a long time. So I started teaching yoga specifically at 23 and fell in love with that practice. It was so important for me for many, many years. And as I started to teach yoga, I get passionate about what I love. So when I love something, I want everybody to love it.
Same.
So what I learned is that, not everybody can do what everybody else does. So I started to learn more about anatomy and biomechanics, and I tried to make my classes more accessible for who was coming into the room. And
these are in person.
In person.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I went online in the pandemic. And during that time is when I also trained in somatic experiencing because I just had more time
Yeah.
during the pandemic to do that. And when I learned about the nervous system and it just sort of shifted, it refined what I already knew. And I was like, oh, it really impacts how people move. But I'm such an anatomy junkie that I'm like, well, I really want to know more about how, like the anatomy of the nervous system.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went down some rabbit holes. I was like, how do I learn this? Because I'm not a neurologist and I'm not a medical doctor. So I needed a way to learn about neurology that would help me as a movement teacher. So I found this very niche world called applied neurology and did some trainings, and I'm still training in it. There's multiple different trainings. I think it's a niche world, but now that I'm in it, I'm like, no, it's a big world. I just away from everything else I was doing. So
yeah, I can't imagine. I'm sure there's probably always something to be learning. That's fascinating. So for listeners and for me who are brand new to somatic work, can you share what somatic experiencing actually is and how it helps or could help somebody with chronic symptoms or trauma or pain?
So the word somatic essentially just means...
Y'all, real quick, before we jump back into today's episode, I want to take a minute to talk to you, especially if anything you've heard so far has felt a little too familiar. If you've ever felt dismissed, misunderstood, or like you're navigating your health completely on your own, I created something for you. And it's called the Kaya Collective. Kaya stands for Come As You Are. Don't worry, it's not another program or place just to get more information. It's a space where you don't have to explain your symptoms, prove your pain, or push through to just keep up. Inside the Kaya Collective, you'll find real conversations, support from women who actually get it, and tools to help you actually understand what your body is trying to tell you, but without the overwhelm. It's for women who are doing all the right things, but still don't feel right. The woman who's tired of surface level answers and ready for something deeper, and the woman who just wants to feel seen, heard, and supported. Again, if that sounds like you, I would love to have you inside. You can learn more at the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. All right, let's get back into today's episode.
Body. Anything of the body. So in some ways, way, shape, or form, everything we do is somatic because because we all live in a body. So anything you're doing, sitting, being immobile, being in pain, being walking around, being dancing, whatever it is you're doing is a somatic practice. Right?
Yeah.
But somatic experiencing is based off the work of Dr. Peter Levine. He's kind of the father in the trauma healing world. And so through his research and a lot of other researchers like Bessel van der Kolk and Dr. Dan Siegel and some other people in that realm, they are the pioneer of like this modern approach to trauma healing, where we look at the nervous system as underlying how our bodies actually function. And that people who have trauma, there's no universal definition of trauma. So in the way I'm trained, right, we look at symptoms of trauma that live in the nervous system.
Yeah.
And so we do sort of piece apart the content versus the effects.
Yeah.
Like somebody might have what we would consider a traumatic event happen, but show no signs of trauma in their nervous system. And some people can have the same experience and then it really impacts them. And it's like, well, why is that? What's going on?
Why is that? Tell me.
I think some people have impacts of trauma and other people don't. And, that, to my knowledge, doesn't have a great, super clear answer.
Yeah.
But what we can do is work with those people who have trauma symptoms and work with their nervous systems.
What are some of those symptoms or common ones, I guess, that y'all come across?
Well, one of the main symptoms I work with in my practice is chronic pain and chronic illness.
Yeah.
There's, all sorts of other symptoms that can happen. A lot are emotional symptoms or just like flashbacks and stuff like that. But the symptoms that I often work with are chronic pain and chronic illness. And then the emotional journey that comes with that, because when you live with chronic pain, when you have chronic conditions, it's nice to point to I have this pain. But what we don't often talk about is that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. And getting to the root of it in many different ways. So I can't remember what I was reading or watching of yours, but I think you used the phrase holding space to reconnect with your body as it is. What does that mean for someone who feels disconnected or like even resentful towards their body because, it's not working how it used to? They're in pain, or I'm not able to do the things I used to do anymore because of this chronic disease or pain or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I often just try to meet people with where they're at. And I think in a lot of the somatic world that I see, there's a big emphasis on, loving your body and the wisdom of your body. And I actually do agree with that. I think our body is amazing and has wisdom. And I also know when people are dealing with chronic pain and illness, that seems so far away. And they're like, that's not, like, I'm just so far away from that. And I don't even want to get there. Like, I don't want to love this thing that's hurting me. Like, that seems twisted in a way. So
Hard.
yeah, it's hard. So I really, there's lots of different ways to build relationship with yourself, and it doesn't require you to love your body but there is this process of accepting the present moment.
Okay.
And accepting the experience that you're having. I really work with people on that, which includes a lot of, like, what is it like to live with pain, and what does your pain represent to you, and how can you talk with your pain in a way that feels conducive to where you are with it. So I don't think we have to exile our pain. A lot of times, at least the people I work with, we have to build relationship with the pain itself.
Does anyone ever have like body image? I hate the word issues, but being resentful towards their body with all the GLP-1 noise and things out in the world, and maybe mourning the body in some ways they used to have.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think grief and all this stuff comes up, and I always like to have the conversation around, like, it's really society's, like, there's a lot of pressure and cultural norms that living in a body with chronic pain and chronic illness or disability in some way, shape, or form, like, in my opinion, people with disability and chronic illness are the medicine for the world that we live in. Right?
Oh, so, well said. I love that.
And I'll quote from Alice Wong, who's an incredible disability justice activist, but she would always say that, like, her physical pain, she can deal with her physical pain and her disability. I forget exactly the condition she had, but it was some kind of neuromuscular thing, and she was in a wheelchair and had to use a breathing tube. And she was like, I can deal with my physical pain. What is harder is living in a world that doesn't accept me for who I am.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the lens I try to come in with, is like, you're not wrong. The way your body is operating, it might suck at times, but it's not wrong. The way the world is set up and designed for people with chronic pain and disability could use some readjusting.
Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. I totally agree. This might get you to repeat a little bit of the things you've already said, but I want to make sure I hit on like autoimmune disease in general too. Like, many of the women in the audience are dealing with symptoms like extreme fatigue or chronic fatigue, brain fog, pain, flares. Like, I know the nervous system plays a big role in that, but like, how does nervous system dysregulation, how does the dysregulation play a role in those issues?
Obviously the nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. We've heard of the survival states: fight, flight, freeze, and collapse. And there's some other blended states in there, but collapse is really a state of the nervous system that I think a lot of people with chronic pain and chronic illness live in. And because our world is set up where we have to work our jobs, it's like there's a lot of social pressure to show up for your friends, to make the phone calls, send the emails, to our, socially speaking, a lot of our worth as human beings are coupled with the amount of productivity and the amount we're able to show up in this world.
Absolutely.
And for a system that's sick or in a collapse state or in some kind of chronic illness, chronic fatigue, the pressure of the world doesn't go away. Right? So it's like what I always talk about, how can we support your collapse? The world is not a friendly place to collapse in, but how can we together work on ways to support the collapse versus fighting against it all the time, which often leads to more
stress.
Yes.
Yes, I know. Oh my goodness. That was so well said. I have so many other questions about the collapse state next. So I'm glad you brought it up anyway. Collapsed state. Tell me more about what it means. I think it kind of explains itself, but more about what it means. And again, more on how today's society can impact that. I feel like that's such a challenge because if you feel terrible and then you have society's expectations coming in on top of that, it's just a horrible, horrible feeling. And talk about the ways to support your collapse and build a better relationship with your body in this state. Was that too big? Y'all, real quick before we jump back into today's episode, I want to take a minute to talk to you, especially if anything you've heard so far has felt a little too familiar. If you've ever felt dismissed, misunderstood, or like you're navigating your health completely on your own, I created something for you. And it's called the Kaya Collective. Kaya stands for Come As You Are. Don't worry, it's not another program or place just to get more information. It's a space where you don't have to explain your symptoms, prove your pain, or push through to just keep up. Inside the Kaya Collective, you'll find real conversations, support from women who actually get it, and tools to help you actually understand what your body is trying to tell you, but without the overwhelm. It's for women who are doing all the right things, but still don't feel right. The woman who's tired of surface level answers and ready for something deeper, and the woman who just wants to feel seen, heard, and supported. Again, if that sounds like you, I would love to have you inside. You can learn more at the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. All right, let's get back into today's episode.
Collapse, I guess I'll zoom out and just this might be a little educational piece, but there's the autonomic nervous system functions. You have the gas pedal, which is your sympathetic nervous system, which helps your body prepare to mobilize. And then you have your parasympathetic branch, which helps your body. It's like the brakes, so it helps slow things down. And in an ideal state, they're working in oscillating fashion. So our heart rate increases and then it decreases. We inhale, we exhale, we get up and we take a break later, right? So there's all sorts of ways that our sympathetic system comes online and our parasympathetic comes online. It gets simplified in the rhetoric online. That's like the sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight, and parasympathetic is rest and digest, which is true. It's just not the whole truth. So the sympathetic branch of the nervous system, when your body is detecting safety, is going to feel really good. It's play, it's joy, it's running to catch the bus, it's being able to clean your house or get up out of bed. It's the gas of our body. Yeah. And when your body is detecting threat, it's going to bump you into the fight or flight, where there's I have to fight my way out of things or run away from things, or there's a sense of urgency or fear. Yeah. And that's even still simplified. And the parasympathetic branch of the system, when we're detecting safety, it's our ability to downregulate, to relax, to digest our food. It's a nice place to be. But when your system detects threat, the parasympathetic branch can lead to shutdown. And all these things are fluctuating all the time. So if your nervous system is detecting threat, and so the sympathetic branch is rising up because can we fight our way out of this threat? No. Can we run our way or avoid this threat? No, we can't. And so then what happens typically is the parasympathetic branch comes online. It's okay, well, let's not do anything. Yeah. So that's the safest way to get you through the next few moments. And so the freeze state is a high sympathetic charge in the system where we have a lot of mobilizing energy. Our thoughts might be racing. Our body might be really tense. We maybe are having a lot of swirling thoughts. But the parasympathetic branch is overriding our ability to take action. So it's like, I want to say something, but I can't. I want to do something, but I can't. And then sometimes people's sympathetic will drop all the way down, and all we're left with is this really high level parasympathetic charge. And so that's what's known as a shutdown state. And it's your body is essentially playing dead. It's shutting down your body's function so that to conserve your energy. And the idea, at least in this theory, is similar to like a mouse playing dead, where it's like trying to trick the predator.
It's like a possum.
Not be interested in it.
Yeah.
It's a last-ditch survival state.
Yeah.
It's really intelligent, especially for the short term. But what happens for a lot of us is we can get stuck in this state for prolonged periods of time. And it's actually one of the highest energy sucks of your body, because it takes a lot of energy to shut down your body's normal functioning. Like blood pressure low, keeping your digestive system offline, keeping all these systems offline takes a lot of energy, because your body actually does want to function.
Man, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And so when we're in these prolonged states of collapse for lots of reasons, there's usually not one reason, there's usually multiple reasons, because it takes so much energy and our systems are trying to function, but they're not able to. A lot of autoimmune issues can flare up, a lot of chronic pain can flare up, just because it's a disharmonious state for the long term. It's just costs a lot of energy. So often when we're in it and we're like, okay, I can't move. Now I'm like, your body's in a pain flare so that you can't move.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a positive feedback loop with negative consequences.
Yeah. How would you typically help somebody, or could somebody potentially break out of that? Because I feel like, I'm sure I've been there. And if you've been there long enough, it seems like that would become a norm. And how would you break out of that cycle?
Yeah, I mean, this might sound counterintuitive, but I don't try to break out of it. That's, I think, where the support comes in, where I'm like, oh, okay, we're in this state, rather than fighting and trying to get out of it, because my brain is like, well, this isn't good, I have to fix it. What if we just say, thank you, body, for doing what you believe to be true?
Yeah. Keeping
me alive.
Yes.
And what would it be like to not fight to get out of this state right away? What would it be like to accept this is where I'm at?
Yeah.
To lay down, to turn the phone off, to do whatever. There's lots of different ways to support.
Yeah.
But what I try to work on with people is, what can we do to support you? And so there are like restorative postures, there are laying down, maybe, what lightings do you like? Like, how can we make your space as nice as possible so that you actually can do what your body's asking you to do, which is absolutely nothing.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad to have that perspective. It's also helpful, at least to me, to be given permission and validation, I guess, almost, that it's okay.
Yeah. Because it's scary. Like, there's often some part of us, whether it's internal and also like the messages we might be getting too, like, oh, just get up, just do something.
Right.
Self. Like, of course, that's all coming from a really good place. But where I like to start is where people are at, which I'm like, if you're in this collapsed state, let's be there. It's there for a reason. So let's figure out a way to be there with less fear, with less resistance, and just give yourself space to, do nothing. And there's often some emotional processing that needs to happen as well, right?
Sure.
Like the fear of losing your loved ones, the fear of, never working again and losing your house. Like, fear is usually a big part of collapse.
Yeah.
We're scared if we actually collapse, it will get worse.
Yeah.
And where we're at usually in those moments is not great. So often we have to process some fears, and I do a lot of somatic dialoguing through that, just to what does fear have to say?
Okay. Yeah. What are some responses that you get? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned some already. Like I said, fear is usually a big one. Being alone is really a big one. The fear of things getting worse is a big one. But also, there's shame comes up a lot as well. So people feel really ashamed of themselves for not being able to overcome these things. So, working with shame as well and
Sure.
both the stuff come up.
Yeah.
And I don't like to use the word it's normal, but for lack of a better word, like it's normal.
Sure.
Your version of it is unique and special, but the themes that I see I'm like, oh yeah, we all go through some version of it.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel that. I need to be told it's okay. It's nice in a crazy busy world to be given permission to stop. Yeah.
I guarantee, right? I think trust is another really big thing that comes in, right? Which is like the fear is if you support the collapse, then you'll never get better. And then you won't like do the things you know are good for you. So sometimes I like to work with decoupling or uncoupling fear from trust, where it's like if fear has been the main motivator for you to like get up and brush your teeth or to actually make the phone calls you need to make sometimes.
Yeah.
How can we build the trust that like you can still do those things, but it doesn't have to be motivated by fear?
Yeah. I love it. When you were just talking about the different, I guess, states of, well, fight or flight, freeze, all those survival states. I've always read or thought about them like your body is in a state of panic, or like, does your body know a difference whether you're being chased by a bear or afraid of somebody coming home that you might not get along with or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, no, your body does not know. Part of you probably knows. Like the other day, my partner came home and the garbage was overfilled and he was annoyed. And I was like, my nervous system was like, oh, he's annoyed, like I'm being attacked. I was not. Like he was actually completely fine.
Yeah.
And it makes sense he was annoyed that, like it's all fine. But my body reacted in a way that was very disproportional to what was going on.
Sure.
And yeah, like even though intellectually I knew like this is fine and he's like a lovely person and I trust him with my life, my body did not know that at that moment.
Sure.
And that could hurt his feelings.
Right.
Like, you don't like what? Like, I can be annoyed. I'm like, yeah, but like I am freaking out here. So just, it's part of relationship building. Like conflict is going to happen. We might overreact sometimes, but in my opinion, a good relationship isn't steady and good all the time. Like there's rupture and there's repair. We get to see our partners and our loved ones when they're not their best self, and we love them anyway. When we're not our best self and they love us anyway, that's ideal. And it builds trust, right? And so I think in our unique ways too, like we owe that to ourselves. Like we have to be able to love ourselves even when our bodies are responding in a way that's like intellectually we know it's not right, but can I show myself some love and care anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely struggle with that. Or my therapist or counselor has had me focus on, apparently, I create negative narratives in my mind about somebody sitting over there or what they're thinking. And she's getting me to become aware of those, why I'm having them, why they're always negative. And a video I watched of yours reminded me of that, and it had to do with, maybe you were talking about the collapse state, and you said something like, whatever state your nervous system is in helps or contributes to the stories that you tell yourself, something like that?
State drives story.
State drives story.
Yeah, the state of your nervous system is going to drive the thoughts going on in your head. Which is why I love working with the body, because a lot of us, myself included, live in our heads.
Yeah.
We have a lot of internal dialogue, a lot of stories, a lot of ruminations.
Yeah.
I think affirmations work for a lot of people, so I'm not dissing them. They just don't always work for me.
Sure.
So if my story's like they're mad at me, and then I can try to have a dialogue. They're not mad. It's okay. They're not mad. It's kind of like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
But if I can shift the state of my nervous system from the body up, then sometimes my thoughts will shift automatically on their own. So I love working body up. I love movement. And often when I move my body in a way that I can, my mind shifts anyway.
Yeah. Like when you say from the body up, is it kind of like a body scan? Like something you can do just sitting there?
Well, it depends on people's mobility. So, I mean, I think that's partly why taking a walk can be so nice, is like you're moving your body. Some people lift weights, some people do yoga. If that kind of movement is too much, I'll do like tapping or like some kind of like touch work of my body, or engage and release, some kind of somatic work or body-based work. But that's something I work with the person collaboratively to figure out what that is, because not everyone I work with can do yoga or take walks. So
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the phrase, and if you believe it's true, that the body expresses what the mind suppresses.
I'm sure there's nuance, but yeah, I do believe that. I'm sure there's nuance there. But yeah, I think our bodies, the thing is they have two different, there's personality and then there's organism, and they might be telling two different stories. Right? So like your personality might be like, oh, like that person over there is totally fine, and I know them to be totally fine. And I want to be like a compassionate person, so I'm going to like not say some of these thoughts out loud that I'm having. So like we believe things about ourselves. And I think our personalities are really important. And then we have our organism, which is our physiological body.
Yeah.
Sometimes that story is different than what our personality is saying, right? It's like saying when your whole body's tense and like, I'm fine.
Totally fine.
Right. Like maybe there's part of you that wants to be fine or thinks somewhere down the line you could be fine, but your physiology is saying something different.
Right.
So I like working with and bringing voice to often like the body's perspective, which is more often, not always, but more often ignored because people like to live in the personality, which is also important. But
yeah, no, that's good point. I often think of it as like if we keep our emotions in, don't talk about them or the trauma, whatever it is, or not fix it, but help it through movement or something, then it's going to come out some way, whether it is in symptoms.
It'll express itself in some way, shape, or form.
Sadly. Something I was curious about, and this may not be a thing for you, but can you explain the difference between stress and trauma and how like the body perceives them and how it can impact the body over time?
Well, I mean, I think both definitely impact the body. Like stress is inevitable, right? If you want a deep dive into stress, why do zebras don't get ulcers is a top recommendation of mine. It's a book all on the physiology of stress and what it does and all the research behind it.
I love it.
Yeah. So stress is inevitable and it really does have an impact on our physical and emotional personhood.
Yeah.
Trauma, right, is a little bit different than stress, although they have some overlapping symptoms. But trauma is hard to explain with words, but I think it's these hooks in our system where if we've experienced something traumatic, which in the somatic experiencing world, it's taught as anything that's too much, too fast, too soon for your system to cope with in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And so whatever that stressful event was where you had too much, too fast, too soon, your body survived it. Like you survived whatever that was. And so your brain, some people's brain and system will learn what you did to survive that. Mm-hmm. And so when something traumatic happens, your body basically takes like a little snapshot of everything around. Mm-hmm. So for example, like right now I'm sitting in my room and there's this sunlight pouring in on my right side. And there's like a green wall and it's really cold outside, and there's this scene that I'm in. And if something traumatic happens and my system survives it, it's taken a snapshot of all this information happening in that moment, and it couples it all together. And so later on, let's say 10 years from now, I'm sitting in my living room and the sun comes in on my right side. My body has this snapshot memory of, oh, sunlight coming in on the right side, this traumatic thing that happened. And it's going to remind me of that stressful situation.
Yeah.
So my body will respond in present time based on the implicit memories or sensory information coming in, and it will put me back into the state of stress that I was in 10 years ago. So it's different than stress because it's time travels.
Yeah.
That's one of the differences.
Sure. It's a big one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And I hate that it happens, but I think that's so interesting.
Yeah. Which is why it can be so confusing, because I'm like, I'm just sitting in my living room and there's this beautiful light coming in. Why am I like so anxious?
Yeah.
Like I might not intellectually remember that 10 years ago I had a hard phone call with the same light coming in, but my body remembers.
Yes. Gosh, that's wild. I love it. Okay. So now I want to kind of move more to things that I've heard you say, that one of the things is eye exercise is brain exercise.
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes sense. So tell me more just about that and what that means and how that can help us in some of the things that had to do with flexibility, but other than that.
What I try to offer people is very simple, accessible exercises that help their nervous system perceive more safety.
Yes.
So there's so much more to how safe we are than what we know intellectually. Our nervous system is receiving like up to 11 million bits of information every second. Most of that is processed beneath our conscious awareness.
Yeah.
The brain is part of the nervous system. Its number one job of all of its jobs is to keep you alive for the next few moments. Its number one job is not to keep me healthy for 10 years.
Yeah.
Its number one job is how safe am I in this moment? Mm-hmm. And then it has other jobs from there. So our eyes, I look at more holistically, like what are the signals of safety coming in these 11 million bits? Mm-hmm. I might not be able right away to help you resolve all of the traumas from your past. We might not even want to get into it. But what I can do is look at what can we improve in your nervous system right now that will help your nervous system perceive more safety. And there's a lot of things that your brain considers high priority for its survival. So your visual system, your vestibular system, and your proprioceptive system are these three like triangulations that help you know where you are in space on this earth.
Okay.
Which is pretty important if your brain needs you to survive. It needs to know where you are and what's around you.
Totally.
So working with your visual system, it seems kind of weird, but when your eyes function better, your brain is like, oh, I feel safer because my eyes are literally able to look around and see my environment better. And there's lots of tendrils with that, but often people think visual system is eyesight, like 20/20 vision, or, I need glasses, or I don't even have an eye, so am I totally screwed here? No, eyesight is part of your visual system, but you also have like a lot of your visual system is eye movements. And there's a lot of science behind this that I could bore you with, but essentially...
I'm boring to me.
Yeah, essentially each eye has 6 extraocular muscles that move them around. And those muscles are innervated by cranial nerves that go directly to your brainstem. Okay. So essentially your brainstem is a pillar of your autonomic system, or the survival system with the fight, the flight, the freeze, the collapse, all those things.
Yeah.
So when your brainstem is functioning better, your system feels better.
Yeah.
So working with your eyes, with eye movements, there's other cranial nerve exercises as well that we can work with, or find the inputs, like what exercises can we do with your cranial nerves, with your eyes, that help your system perceive more safety.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing about this stuff is a very simple, effective method of testing if your system likes this or not. And so we just go through methodically what exercises work for you, and then you just do them on a regular basis. And it's like it's like a balm for your nervous system.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
I know I saw one with like a pin, and then I was watching the one where you were, this is not right. But you had said, like, if this is too easy, or if it's too easy for your brain, it sounded like it needs to be a challenge in order for it to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's other like brain snacks that I do. So little coordination exercises. I show a lot with my hands because it's easy to film for Instagram, but there's other ones you can do with your feet. So people with Parkinson's struggle with the hand stuff, which I'm like, it's good to practice, but we can also stimulate the brain in other ways. But yeah, coordination challenges that work the cerebellum, that work the frontal lobe, can be really, really helpful for your brain, because your brain likes a challenge and it likes learning new things. And there's a lot of research on movement being this, like, it gets the two halves of your brain talking to each other, lots of neurons firing, and all this can help with building what's called cognitive load, which is essentially something that helps reduce the risk of developing Alzheimer's dementia, which is really great. And it's just fun, right? It can feel like, oh, my brain's working, and I like that.
Right. And it sounds like in some simple forms of action and exercise. That just made me think of, I'm currently detoxing from mold, and it really affects your brain. And I do know that toxins are stored in fat cells, and the brain is 60% fat or something. I think like that. Yeah. So that makes sense for the brain fog. I don't even know if that would affect eyesight, but what you were saying with the brain and things just reminded me of that. It's been quite a journey.
Oh yeah, detoxing from mold is a whole thing, and my thoughts and prayers are with you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be out of the environment. So we've talked about trust and safety. So for somebody who's been told their symptoms, it's common in chronic illness world, but all their symptoms are just in their head, or they're crazy, or it's just part of being a mom, that kind of thing. Like, how can somatic work start to restore trust and safety in the body again? And I think we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but over time, if we're told that enough, we start to believe it and be like, am I crazy? Like, is it that bad?
Yeah. And honestly, there's an adaptive quality to that too. I mean, I've talked to some people with chronic illness, and they're like, well, if I believe it's not that bad, then my experience is better. If I admit that it's that bad, sometimes my symptoms get worse. So, I've heard it go both ways, and I try to not dictate that. I'm like, if somebody comes to me, and I tend to think like it's all real, that's like, why would somebody make this up? I just tend to believe people, and if they need some validation on that, I'm happy to give that, because I've just talked to too many people who have too many chronic illnesses, and the experience of medical trauma, of dismissal, of medical gaslighting, like, it's just so common and infuriating. I know they're not crazy. I know they're not alone. So I'm happy to pass that information along.
Yeah.
And I want to honor the people too, where they're like, I don't want to give this any attention because I don't want to deal with it feeling worse. And I'm like, I get that too. So let's go a different route.
Yeah, that's good. I haven't thought about it that much in that way and going in that direction, but that's good too. So for people or listeners who want to explore nervous system healing, don't know where to start, what would you recommend? I know you also have a workbook and things like that, and I want you to talk about those things too, but what initial steps would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if this conversation has been interesting to you, I do recommend my workbook. I created it basically because I usually just work one-on-one with people, but I'm not a medical provider and I can't accept insurance and it's expensive, right? One-on-one work is expensive and often people are on disability or have fixed incomes and can't afford one-on-one work, even though they would highly benefit.
Yeah.
So I created a workbook because I basically take you through my process of assessing all the different cranial nerves. And each exercise, it's titrated like you just do one a day.
Yeah.
And it takes under 3 minutes. And there's a video tutorial, and it's also written out in this beautiful workbook. And you can do it sitting down, laying down, like all the exercises are very simple and accessible. And I show you the process of like, you assess, you do the exercise, you reassess, and then by the end of the workbook, you create your own neurosomatic protocol that helps your nervous system perceive more safety on a regular basis. So I think if you are interested in this conversation, get the workbook. I tried to keep it affordable, but it's $39, but you can still like pay with, like I have Klarna and all that stuff if you need to make payments on it, but it's worth so much more because it's working directly with your nervous system. So
yeah, I bet it's amazing. Are there any simple, like, I'm sure your workbook probably contains some of these things, but like simple daily practices that somebody could try like today if they want to start reconnecting with their body?
yeah, I mean, I share a lot of simple exercises on my Instagram, so any of those would be great. But honestly, I think just one of my things that I do every day for myself is just like I usually try to place a hand somewhere on my body that feels right. I love hand on my heart. Some people like it other places. I just like literally make contact with myself.
Yeah.
I like to close my eyes. You could have them open, but just like building that physiological conversation with myself is literally all like that's the foundation of everything. Is like, I'm here. Even if I am in pain, even if I'm in a crappy mood, I can just be here with that. And to me, that's one of the most priceless practices.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels so good too. I mean, I don't do it very often, but there was a part of life or moment in time when I would wake up and I would put my hands on my chest and like tell myself I love myself. Whether I like believed it or not, I started to. Somebody recommended I do that, and I did for a while, but I have fallen out of practice. For women listening who feel like stuck and disconnected, what would you want her to know about healing, like in general?
I mean, honestly, I think what I wish people knew about the healing process is that it's not about feeling better. And I think if we can just remove that expectation around like, oh, if I just did this practice or this practice, I would feel better.
Yes.
It's not, healing's not about feeling better. It's about being with.
I love that. I mean, you're right. It's so true.
And I know that there's a good portion of people who are going to hear me say that and never work with me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But for the people who have sort of gone through again and again, all the many things, it's like, I want to feel better. I'm going to do this and I'm going to feel better. And you have that experience like, wow, it's not really working. It's like, okay, what if it's not about arriving at this like fantasy of a certain expectation or perfection? And what if healing is really about being exactly where you are? With kindness, with support, with widening your capacity to be with.
Yeah, that's so well said. And, you know, I feel like that would remove so much, even another layer of stress, accepting in a way where you are instead of just climbing out of that hole or trying to just, you know, climb up a never ending ladder, I guess, or maybe a hamster wheel of trying to achieve.
That's where the trust comes in too, because right, I'm like, oh, there, I feel it in myself. I'm like, oh, but if I just accept the feeling's not about being better, then what if I just stay here or get worse? It's like, okay, then I just have to trust. I trust that if I let go of those expectations, like that's not the only thing that's pushing me forwards. Like there's something else out there. But I think it's really about that surrender and being with and letting go of the expectation of things getting better. And that I know that's scary.
Sure.
But you don't have to go through that alone. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So well said. For the listeners and anybody that can relate to this conversation, is there anything else that you like to share with them? Also tell us where we can find you, and we'll put, the link to your workbook and Instagram and anything else in the show notes to this as well. But yeah, whatever else you want us to know.
I think I mentioned this earlier, but I think people who live with chronic illness, chronic pain, disability, you are the people who are interrupting a pattern of the world. And I see value in that. I think your illness, your disability has value for this world because it interrupts this really toxic pattern of more, faster, faster, faster. Like that's not the pattern I want to be in for myself. I don't think it's a good pattern for the world. Like we're in ecological collapse because of it. So I really see value in your chronic illness. And I know it's not easy, but I thank you for existing.
Yeah.
You can find me on my Instagram, Diana May Yoga. You can find me on my website, dianamay.com. My workbook is linked there and all the things. So yeah, stay in touch.
Cool. Thank you. And I saw something else about animal something that you offer.
Well, I do in-person retreats and yeah. And I'm calling my next in-person retreat, which is in like 2 weeks. It's called Soft Animal. It's like an eco-somatic retreat.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah, just connecting with nature, our earth body and the actual body and the body of earth. Yeah. So it's a really lovely retreat. And they're the only in-person things I do are retreats. So I really like them.
Cool. Yeah, I bet. Awesome. Well, I hope that goes well too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time so much. I could read about it. I could hear about it all day long.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Chronic Conversations. I hope you're walking away with a little more clarity, hope, and inspiration for your healing journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Every share helps this show reach more women who deserve to feel seen, heard, and validated. And if we're not connected yet, come say hi on Instagram. I'm at Call Me Katherine Rose. Plus, you can check out free tools and resources for your wellness journey anytime at callmekatherine.rose.com. And until next time, take care. And here's to thriving well, no matter where you are on your journey.